What is going on, everybody? Welcome into episode 12 of the FanDuel Football Multiverse, where we explore various what-if scenarios and see how things could have been different across the NFL. Today, we are asking what if the Browns had actually traded for Russell Wilson prior to the 2018 NFL Draft, and pitting them against the Cincinnati Bengals. I am Jim Sanas, a senior writer and analyst at numberFire, joined here by JJ Zachariason, editor-in-chief of numberFire and FanDuel. JJ, we know Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in the entire league, and this would have rocked the world had this trade actually gone down. What are you expecting to see in this game?
Well, he's got great weapons. We know that with Cleveland. You have Jarvis Landry, you got OBJ. David Njoku showed up the last time we saw the Browns in one of these streams. So he has the weapons, obviously the backfield too. Better weapons than he's played with historically. Hopefully we see them let him sort of just cut loose and throw it deep often.
Let Russ cook. That is always the cry, and we'll see if it happens here today as he joins the Browns. In case you don't know the backstory of this, and I believe it was Chris Sims who originally reported that there was at one point a discussion about trading that guy to the Cleveland Browns. Prior to the 2018 draft, the Seahawks were willing to send Russell Wilson to the Browns for the first overall pick, and they reportedly would have taken Baker Mayfield with that pick. Obviously, that didn't happen, so we're going to see what would look like if it did happen. I think that seeing Baker on the Seahawks would also be kind of a mind trip, but, I mean, seeing Russell Wilson with a team that maybe appreciates him is also intriguing.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Baker on the Seahawks, though, would also be interesting because at least you have, over the last couple of years, you have a lot more continuity than they've had in Cleveland.
Exactly. I mean, especially in the coaching staff there, and that makes a big difference as Russell Wilson gets things started off on the right foot here. It's also weird to see Russell Wilson wearing number 11. Again, a little bit jarring there as well. But we'll see how things shake out for today. Russ was $15,000 on FanDuel for this game. OBJ, $12,500. Nick Chubb, $13,000. Jarvis Landry at $10,500. I think that's a pretty enticing salary for him because he, in our first Brown stream with Lamar Jackson, Jarvis Landry put some moves on a dude and had a huge touchdown. So let's see if he can do the same thing here as Russ does complete this one as he is 2 for 2 to open up this game. And moving the Browns down the field, OBJ gets his first reception of the game.
Good to see that. Good to see that connection going. OBJ having a quarterback being able to get him the ball, that's always a good thing.
And it's weird to see Russell Wilson in this scenario because he's always had, like, solid weapons, but it's never been like he's never had this top-end talent. I think you could make the argument that maybe if Tyler Lockett were in a different system, he might be that. But I don't think we'd put, like, personally, I wouldn't put Tyler Lockett in the same tier as someone like Odell Beckham. So seeing Russell Wilson with that type of talent is really intriguing to me too.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you look at what he has right now in this game, it's the best that he's ever worked with. Not that this is real life, of course.
Right.
But then I would also argue, though, that what he's walking into this year with a second-year DK Metcalf, you have Tyler Lockett, who balled out last year before that injury. Greg Olson's there now. I mean, he has probably better / one of the best groups that he's played with since he started there in Seattle, which is saying something, I think, because it's not like it's that unbelievable and that deep. But right here with Cleveland, you definitely have a lot of strong weapons.
And they've also got like 15,000 tight ends on that roster, basically the Chicago Bears of the Pacific Northwest. And Russ tried to run there, which is encouraging for those of you who decided to use him, but for some reason ran right into Carlos Dunlap. Maybe not the most enticing strategy we've seen from Russ, but hey, you know, it takes some time to get back in the groove here.
Yeah, I mean, look, he could have some struggles against this good Cincinnati defensive line. You know, you can say what you want about the Cincinnati defense, but they have Carlos Dunlap, they have Geno Atkins. You know, it's not the easiest front to play against.
And this is not the rebuilt Cleveland Browns offensive line because this is the same offensive line they had last year. So Jack Conklin not there, broken tackle, and a first down picked up by Kareem Hunt as Russell Wilson now 3 for 3. Kareem Hunt getting the reception there, a 20-yard gain. Kareem Hunt for this game, $9,500. Nick Chubb was $13,000, and I'd assume we'll see Hunt playing like that third down pass-catching back role. And, you know, we saw some big production out of Dion Lewis last week in a similar role. So the output here for Kareem Hunt will be very interesting just because we could see him play a decent amount of snaps here in this game, depending on the role Madden has him in.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I don't think you'll see goal line rushes. We've seen Nick Chubb have had that big game when Lamar Jackson was the quarterback. But then right there, we see Kareem Hunt get a carry on first down. So that's good news if anyone decided to play the value running back for Cleveland, so far at least.
Yeah, and I think ever since we moved to the arcade mode for these simulations, running backs have popped off. I know James Conner had a multi-touchdown game. Nick Chubb had 2 touchdowns. Our boy Wayne Gallman had a huge day.
Our boy, yeah.
I'm going to reassociate with him now that his name no longer has the stink on him. But Tony Pollard also had 100 yards. So running backs have been pretty big. The problem with Cleveland is that you're going to have those money touches spread out because Hunt will be getting most of the targets, Chubb getting the goal line carries. Joe Mixon, I would assume, I didn't check out the depth charts before this game, but probably operating as the third down, the 3-down back for the Bengals. So he was a bit more expensive. Mixon, $12,000. Another completion there for Russell Wilson as he is 4 for 4 so far in this game, and that doesn't look great.
This does not look great. Whatever's happening on the field right now does not look good.
Jarvis decided to hang out for a bit. He enjoyed the coolness of the turf. I'm gonna hope/assume because it definitely looks strange.
That was not good. It's like they were just frozen there for a bit. Looked like one of those weird hits where like it doesn't look like a big hit on the football field and they're just down and you're like, oh gosh. Those are always like the worst ones than like the really hard.
Thankfully, Jarvis was in the huddle. We know huddles don't mean anything for Madden based on what we've seen here for sure, as kickers are randomly in there. We'll see weird stuff, but Jarvis, it's good to see him out there for sure. Another carry for Nick Chubb, but doesn't get anything going there. Talking about that Browns rebuilt offensive line, Jack Conklin on the right side, making some moves in the draft as well to fill the gap at left tackle. So they should be a pretty good unit, which is going to give Baker Mayfield a good situation around him this year. But obviously, I mean, JJ, I think we're both generally Baker fans, but if you have the chance to get Russell freaking Wilson, it'd be really hard for me to pass that up personally.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about that because this is our second stream of replacing Baker Mayfield.
Yeah.
And
we're going to seem like haters.
Yeah, it seems like we're just haters, but realistically, it's just the way the situation's kind of unfolded.
Yeah, the first one was Lamar Jackson. What if Cleveland had taken him? And again, no disrespect to Baker, but I'd probably take Lamar Jackson over Baker anyway. So, like, again, I'm a huge Baker guy. Just happens to be when your alternatives are Lamar Jackson, the reigning MVP, and Russell Wilson, who is one of the best quarterbacks in football. You're inclined to go those routes for sure. Russell Wilson has been in the NFL for 8 years now. He has been a top 10 quarterback by total net expected points in 7 of those 8 years. And that's despite being in an offense that has never had him pump out big volume. And the stat that I was citing, total net expected points, does factor in volume. He does get aided by how often he runs the ball, but they haven't let him throw a lot, but he's still put forward huge expected points performances. So it's just really hard to ever speak ill of someone as good as Russell Wilson.
Well, yeah, and that's despite the fact that they never have good offensive lines.
True.
And they've had pretty mediocre weapons. Of course, guys like Doug Baldwin emerges, and that was a great weapon for him. But Baldwin was an undrafted player. I mean,
right.
We're still looking at guys who. I was just seeing if Njoku found the end zone.
Almost did.
It looks like it's
6 out of 6 for 66 yards. Russell Wilson is officially the devil.
Yes.
Njoku, 2 receptions for 14 yards. Go ahead there, JJ.
I was just saying. It's wild that Russell Wilson has done what he's done with not just the lack of weapons, not just the lack of offensive line, but a coaching philosophy in general from an offensive standpoint that's generally not fit what he does best, especially with Schottenheimer. You could make the argument for Darrell Bevell a little bit because he's been, he's a deep ball, he has that deep ball mentality, but I mean, it's not been the perfect scenario for Russell Wilson to thrive. It's not like he's playing with Andy Reid.
It's not just the usage, but it's also when you run a lot on early downs, you put your quarterback in bad situations, and you put your quarterback in bad situations later in games too. You look at the score discrepancies for Seattle last year. Basically, they trailed throughout the entire first half. And then magically, somehow, they would come back in the fourth quarter. Weird. When you use Russell Wilson, good things happen. Who could have possibly predicted that?
Looks
Kareem
like
Hunt. Yeah.
Yeah, is that Kareem Hunt in?
I think that Hunt is in the backfield. He gets the handoff, and he's in for the touchdown. So Kareem Hunt, $9,500 on FanDuel for this game. He starts things off here with a touchdown carry, putting the Browns up 6-0, and that's a big start because, again, he did have that catch earlier as well.
Yeah, I mean, they just took the entire first quarter and then the first play of the second quarter to cap off that drive with that Hunt touchdown. But, we talked about it. There was a pretty big gap in price between Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. I think Chubb would have been the safer play, so it makes sense that he had the price tag there. I'm surprised that Hunt ended up seeing that goal line rush there because we saw historically and in the past Nick Chubb getting those looks.
The other thing we saw was Joel Bitonio paving room once again, as he did in the first stream. I know Nick Chubb ran him over once, but it was because Joel Bitonio had already shoved his dude into the end zone. So we got to give the big men their due here.
They are hype. They are hype.
Yeah.
Right now.
I love it. That does not look like Zach Taylor at all. Freddie Kitchens back. I think that we should just keep doing Brown streams to keep Freddie Kitchens in the general consciousness here.
Yeah. Now he's a tight end coach for the Giants. He went from being a head coach in the NFL to
Jason Garrett, Freddie Kitchens, both on the same staff.
Yeah.
Just a wonderland. You gotta love it.
Wild.
So we're going to see the Cincinnati Bengals on offense here, which means we also get another return here for Andy Dalton, because Dalton is going to be the quarterback for the Bengals. Of course, these are the default Madden rosters outside of the specified changes. So it's Andy Dalton. AJ Green is healthy in this one. We've got John Ross, Tyler Boyd. A little swan song here for Andy Dalton on the Bengals.
Yeah, look, there's good weapons in Cincinnati. That's part of the reason why you can be bullish on Joe Burrow. By the way, this look that Andy Dalton had there in Madden, a lot of these guys, like the Russell Wilson one looked a lot like Russell Wilson, but the Andy Dalton one looked like a caricature of Andy Dalton. It was pretty wild.
The hair was not manicured enough. Dalton,
I agree. Yeah.
Andy Dalton cares.
Yeah,
and Andy Dalton does a good job of keeping himself tight up top, and Madden, they're not giving him his full due. You can say a lot of things about Andy Dalton, about he can't get over the hump, he's not a type of quarterback. Oh my goodness, Joe Mixon gets a huge hole there, but maybe he's not the quarterback who can elevate a team to a championship caliber roster. But you can say those questions. You cannot question the hair game, because the hair game is on another level for Dalton.
Yeah, he's got quarantine hair in Madden here.
Exactly.
Yeah. Look, the weapons are good in Cincinnati. It's a reason to be bullish on Joe Burrow. And it's a reason to think that Andy Dalton can come through with a decent game, and maybe he ends up outscoring Russell Wilson if they're able to keep pace with him, because we've already seen that Kareem Hunt touchdown, which obviously takes away from Russell Wilson throwing one.
Dalton was $14,000 and gets, looks like another completion. Yeah, a completion there to, looks like A.J. Green for the first down. 11-yard gain for A.J. Green. Good to see A.J. Green back healthy once again on an NFL field. After missing all last year, he was $11,500. Mixon, $12,000. Tyler Boyd only $10,000. That's not too bad for him. So the second receivers for both teams, Jarvis Landry and Tyler Boyd, both coming with pretty solid salaries. And Dalton's going to throw again. This time throws it behind the line. John Ross fumbles. Picked up, I believe that's Greedy Williams. And Greedy Williams is going to take this one to the house. If it's not overturned, we will see, because it kind of looked like he was down.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
That was a very lazy play.
Yeah, he was kind of like running backward. Yeah, he's down. Okay, I think that forearm was down. But we were talking about guys returning to health. Greedy Williams will be healthy next year for the Browns as well. So a fun one for sure, but I'd have to assume that is going to come back. John Ross, I don't know. You always talk about the camera shake, and I couldn't see a camera shake there.
I couldn't either.
But it almost looked like it may have been out while it was still kind of in his hand, potentially.
Yeah. The other thing I was thinking about right before that play is Tyler Eifert is also on the Bengals in this game.
Oh, yes. Now a Jacksonville Jaguar. Jaguar. I have no idea how to say that word. I get crap for it every time.
I mean, look, it's Midwesterners have a hard time with the word Jaguar.
I have a tough time with a lot of words. I will be fully honest. There are several that are on my no-fly zone where I know I can't say them, so I just don't say them at all.
Yeah, sure.
Avoid them at all costs.
You don't need chat making fun of you.
Absolutely. Guys are ruthless. So it does look like it was overturned. Second down and 11, which means that Andy Dalton will stay out there. The touchdown taken off the board. And we've talked about this before, but if you use players in the Bengals, it's not a bad thing at all. It's actually pretty good. if they fall down and go down 14-0 on a defensive touchdown like that, because it gets him the ball back right away, gets negative game script for Andy Dalton. Probably wouldn't have been great for Joe Mixon, but it would have been good for the passing game there. As Mixon gets a carry and he is stuffed right away. The Browns defense, angry at that call, overturned, and takes Mixon down for a loss of 3, bringing up 3rd down and 14. JJ, you were talking about this before, but the weapons on the Bengals, not that bad, and they also made some additions in the offseason. I think A.J. Green is kind of an offseason addition. They used a lot of draft capital on offense, too. And Zach Taylor, you can question a lot of things about what happened with the Bengals last year, and some of that responsibility definitely falls on Zach Taylor. But from a pure fantasy perspective, he was very pass-heavy, and that's exactly what even when you account for game script, he threw the ball a lot, especially when Dalton was a starter.
Yeah, a really, really pass-heavy team in neutral game scripts, which bodes well for those pass catchers on that team. I would expect them to air it out with Joe Burrow. I know that it's a little bit scary when you're projecting, just given the situation right now with camp and preseason, et cetera, projecting a rookie like that, but just based on the evidence that we have, they were a pretty pass-heavy team.
Randy Bullock out here for the long field goal. This would be a 54-yard field goal, so some bonus points on FanDuel. Bullock's kick is up, and it's short, I believe. Yep. I've used Randy Bullock in DFS more times than I'd like to admit, from back when FanDuel had kickers. And I've seen him miss my fair share of kicks, so we've all been here before. Welcome back to the days of a kicker slot on FanDuel. I guess for single game, obviously, you can still do it. Zach Taylor, none too pleased about that missed kick by Randy Bullock.
Look, they deserve to miss that kick.
It was 4th and 1.
Yeah,
you 54-yard field goal.
Yes, exactly. You go for it there.
Operator error, Zach Taylor. That's all I got to say. 3:20 left to go in the second quarter. First touchdown of this game was by Kareem Hunt. The Browns had another touchdown that was wiped off the board, a defensive touchdown. But now to get the ball back, Russell Wilson under center. Looks like Nick Chubb back in the backfield here for this Browns offense. Their second drive of the game, starting off from the 45-yard line. That's the other thing about a missed field goal, is it gives the other team great field position, and Nick Chubb makes that field position even better with a nice little run there.
Yeah,
I know, Michael.
Chubb, go ahead.
What's that?
I was just going to say, Chubb is one of the most undervalued in terms of just like being a pure runner in the league. Yeah. One of the more undervalued guys, and we saw right there him bouncing off that tackle and he got smoked at the end, but it was a nice little.
Remember that run against the Patriots where it was like super rainy? He had like this massive run and then got stripped at the end, but it kind of showed you the abilities Nick Chubb has as a runner, and it's really hard to parallel him there. Going back to the missed field goal, I know Michael Lombardi, he's a former NFL exec now, has his own podcast, has had a push for deeming missed field goals as turnovers because of the advantageous field position they give the opposing team, and I'm kind of in favor of it just because they are really dramatic plays from a win expectancy perspective.
Yeah, I don't mind that idea either, and maybe because of the way that coaches and teams are judged, if you look at statistics after the fact, then coaches might think that they should be going for it a little bit more because they know that if the turnover numbers look bigger and larger, then they'll get fired.
The messed up thing is that you're right, because NFL coaches definitely think that way.
I know it's crazy. I mean, they're gonna look back at a season and say, oh, we turned the ball over this many times, but obviously part of that though is just kicker inaccuracy. What you really should be doing is looking at the win probability changes and whether they made optimal decisions based on field position, etc.
John Harbaugh, I know, is someone who has emphasized that with their analytically run decision-making, whether it be fourth downs, field goal attempts, and stuff like that. First incomplete pass of the game for Russell Wilson. Bringing up 3rd down and 8. We are inside the 2-minute warning. Browns trying to add on to their 7-0 lead, in theory, in field goal range for Austin Seibert here. We shall see. Wilson will pass here. Plenty of time in the pocket. And does get it away. That's a big completion. I believe that's David Njoku, his 3rd catch of the game. JJ, you talked about it earlier. Njoku feeling alive here with no Austin Hooper in town yet.
Yeah, I mean, look, think about it. David Njoku in a simulation would be a freak of nature.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like he's got all the tools. All of us as fantasy players have wanted Njoku to break out for a while now. So it's not surprising that he's had these big games in these simulations. So I expect that to continue from here on out.
3 receptions, 40 yards for David Njoku, and the clock keeps ticking. And honestly, Cleveland probably very okay with that, given that they don't want to give Cincinnati too much time left for their next drive. Wilson, 1st and 10 from the 11-yard line, does sling it out towards the sideline, completes a Hunt, but Hunt steps out of bounds after no gain. Stops the clock again at 1:24 left to go here in this opening half of football.
Half a point, though, for Kareem Hunt.
Hey, you'll take it. Already got the touchdown. He also looks huge in this game.
He does look a little beefy there.
Although, I mean, it's not like he's small to begin with, but
sure.
Dude's been using his quarantine productively, I guess is the way we'll say that.
Yes.
Once again, we have 2 streams per week here on the FanDuel Football Multiverse. Back again tomorrow night, Thursday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the FanDuel YouTube page. We're going to see what the Raiders would look like if Kyler Murray had fallen to them in the draft last year. Another catch for Njoku. Already his 4th of the game as he gets taken down. But that's 2 points just from receptions alone for David Njoku. But tomorrow, we're going to see what Kyler Murray would look like if he had fallen to the, I guess, at that time, Oakland Raiders, now the Las Vegas Raiders. They'll be Oakland for the stream. La-di-da-di-da. And they're going to face Kansas City. So it's Kyler Murray, Patrick Mahomes. No complaints out of me. You can still get in on the contest there over on FanDuel.com right now. 3rd down and 8 for Russell Wilson. He's going to take off inside the 10. He slides. Oh, just short of the goal line. I think he got the 1st down, though. He did. I appreciate Russ taking care of himself, and it does run down time. He could have got.
Yeah, look, anyone who used Russell Wilson, I feel your pain. That's a tough beat right there because he probably could have gotten in, but the slide was the reason why he's down on the 1 here. And
it's important to remember that the ball is spotted where you begin the slide. It's not where his knee goes down.
Hopefully we see a quarterback sneak here. Hopefully.
Cleveland just called a timeout. I don't understand the virtual coaching decisions in this. It's hideous.
But it's also Freddie Kitchens, so.
That's also true. So maybe it's just true to life and we're just the idiots. Yeah. Freddie Kitchens is playing chess while we're playing something totally different. 1st and goal from the 1, though. No running back here, so still some chance for the Russell Wilson users. Again, $15,000 on FanDuel. No touchdowns yet. He's got time. He's going to throw it to the end zone, and there he is. David Njoku gets his 1st touchdown of the game. He is going nuts here in this first half. 5 receptions, more than 40 yards, and a tutty. That's Njoku and Kareem Hunt as the 2 standouts so far here today.
Yeah, look. Again, whenever you're building your lineups with these Madden simulations, what we've found as people who are watching all these simulations and sort of analyzing the simulations, I don't know if we're not going like hard.
Very liberal use of that word.
Yeah, I mean, Jim and I are both fantasy analysts, so we go deep in that, but we're not going super deep in this. But what we found anecdotally is that the target share distribution is pretty flat. So, it seems advantageous to go for these guys who are sort of lower in the price range because we know that they're lower on the totem pole in terms of where they typically would get targets and how they would typically get targets. And that just means that guys like Njoku, guys like John Ross, even Tyler Boyd to a degree, they're just a little bit more advantageous to play while you can just plug in those running backs.
Njoku is $9,500, and he's already paid off salary at that number. So Njoku coming through for those of you who used him. Kareem Hunt, the other touchdown so far, but still some time for the Bengals to potentially get some points here in this first half. All 3 timeouts remaining and some good options. It is arcade mode, so anything is possible here for the Andy Dalton-led Bengals.
Basically what I'm saying is play Tyrell Williams tomorrow.
That could work.
I don't know. I mean, I just go with the random one-off guys. You'll probably get better ownership with them.
I am sad that Blake Bell is not going to be the featured tight end.
Yeah, I am too. I was just thinking that too. For those of you who are with us with the Blake Bell stream when Patrick Mahomes was throwing to backups for that what-if scenario, and Blake Bell just balled out. I wish we had more of that.
Yeah, so it's Raiders against Chiefs tomorrow. So it's Kyler Murray with Hunter Renfrow, Tyrell Williams, Darren Waller. Darren Waller might be pretty solid. The problem is, like you said, he's not going to get that 27% target market share that he had at times last year in these streams. As Dalton completes a pass, I believe that was Eifert along the sideline. Eifert, $8,500. The Bengals call their first time out and up to the 41. So they've got a chance to add some points here, and I believe they will receive the opening kickoff in the second half too.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they do for our sanity watching this game.
I mean,
keep things close.
I could watch a Russell Wilson blowout because, like, if we see Russell Wilson obliterate a team while being pass-heavy, maybe Pete Carroll, who I'm sure is a dedicated viewer of the FanDuel Football Multiverse, will be like, maybe I should encourage Brian Schottenheimer to throw more. Oh, Andy Dalton gets picked. Morgan Burnett at the 15-yard line. That was a disgusting catch by Morgan Burnett. And you earned that dance, man. You earned it.
That was nice. That was nice. And I'm also a little bit upset. Although we get 47 seconds of Russell Wilson right now, so it could be kind of fun.
That was a sick catch. Trying to get Tyler Boyd downfield. Morgan Burnett, and we talked a lot about the Myles Garrett suspension last year for Cleveland. Morgan Burnett getting hurt seemed like it had a big effect on them too. Burnett not going to be back for 2020 like Myles Garrett will, but this Browns team overall reloading. They did add some safety help in free agency as well and in the draft, so we'll see how things shape out for them. But I'm generally pretty optimistic about this Cleveland team, and we talked a little bit before how we've been generally interested in them, but a large part of it is, for me, Myles Garrett being back, and I think that is a major factor for this team. But JJ, how are you evaluating this Browns team? Not the Russell Wilson-led Browns, but the Baker Mayfield-led Browns for 2020.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they got the right coach in Kevin Stefanski. He's going to bring over probably a similar offense as what we saw with Minnesota, where they ran a lot of play action, which is what Baker Mayfield is a lot stronger at and doing, at least compared to the rest of the league and the rates of, because basically every quarterback's better whenever they're running play action. But they'll run a lot of play action. They utilize a lot of two tight end sets. So you have almost almost an identical offense in terms of personnel as what you had in Minnesota last season, but with better players, with better personnel. So I think they'll be able to do generally what they want offensively, but we're not going to see Baker Mayfield drop back to pass 600 plus times this year. You know, we're looking at a scenario where Baker is going to be kind of pulled in a little bit. You know, we don't want him. They don't want him to win the game with his arm per se. They want him to be super efficient, hyper efficient, and not turn the ball over like he's done the first couple of years in the league.
Russ is going to run, and he slides short of the first down, but a timeout called, I believe, by Cincinnati. Yeah, by Cincinnati there. So there will still be a couple of seconds left. Cincinnati may get the ball back. Going back to the Minnesota versus Cleveland comparison for skill position guys, if David Njoku ran a 40 against Kyle Rudolph, by how many seconds would David Njoku win?
Oh, man. 3?
I think that's probably right, because it would not be pretty.
Look, don't be talking junk on my boy Irv Smith, though.
This is true. I purposely chose Rudolph instead of Irv Smith.
Yeah.
Like it was a manufactured race there for sure. We'll put Irv Smith against Austin Hooper instead. I know that they're not necessarily the correct comparisons, but hey, this is our stream. Deal with it. Dalton back out there. I've thrown that pick to Morgan Burnett on the last drive. 24 seconds left, just one timeout. So the Bengals want to utilize the sidelines here. We've seen some long balls come through ever since we changed to arcade mode. So definitely the first half not done yet. And the Bengals could still get some points on the board. If not, could get some points for your FanDuel rosters too. So Dalton, instead they run it with Joe Mixon. Because why not?
You looked like he had a hole there too.
Why did they call a timeout if they're just going to run it up the gut with Mixon?
Because it's Madden.
I don't get it, man.
I know. I've seen some people complain about this.
Yeah.
But sorry, guys, we're not the coaches. We can't do anything about it.
If we were the coaches, 4 verts.
Be airing it out right now.
Right. 4 verts every play and just kind of see what happens. That does bring us to the end of the first half here. 14-0. Cleveland on top, but Cincinnati will get the ball to open up the second half with Zach Taylor and Andy Dalton at the helm for that team. Once again, a quick reminder, we are back here again tomorrow on the FanDuel YouTube page, so make sure you are subscribed to that FanDuel YouTube page. It's not only these Madden streams, but we also have a lot of our podcasts go up there, the PGA podcast, the Brandon Gadula and myself, and then the NASCAR podcast as well. Those go up on the FanDuel YouTube page in video form every week. So DFS advice and these Madden streams all in the same place. Make sure you are subscribed. Tomorrow night, Kyler Murray going to the, I guess at that time, Oakland Raiders, seeing what that offense would look like if they had a slightly more exciting quarterback.
Yeah.
I think that's okay.
Slightly.
Derek Carr's cousin might attack me on Twitter, so we'll tread lightly here. But the Kyler Murray on the Raiders taking on the Chiefs with Patrick Mahomes That matchup should be pretty fun. I know Kyler Murray and Cliff Kingsbury is like an elite combination, but Kyler Murray with John Gruden, just like a social science experiment type of thing, might actually be somehow more fun.
Oh, that would be so much fun.
I would just want like a bug in John Gruden's like bedroom/office so I could hear him talk about Kyler Murray all day.
Do you remember how much people hated Kyler Murray before the draft last year because of like the decision with baseball, and then it turned into him not, the way he interviewed and stuff, and how he was kind of short with people and all that. But like it literally didn't matter. I mean, it was such a media based, story. But yeah, it would be really fun to see him with John Gruden.
I just remember like the day I decided to never question Kyler Murray was in the playoff. Kyler Murray had this play where he had, in college football, obviously, he had the play with Oklahoma where he was like scrambled for like 15 minutes, sprinted, threw it at midfield on one leg, because I was almost picked, threw it on one leg from midfield, and it was caught for a touchdown. And I was like, cool, I'm good, I'm in, no more questions, no more research necessary, dude's good, let's move on to April right now.
Yeah. Do you feel more confident in Kyler, now that we're talking about Baker here, after his year one, than you did Baker after his year one? Because I asked that because I think both of us / a lot of people across the league were very, very hype about what Baker did in year one and what he could have done last season with OBJ there. And then obviously he sort of falls on his face. He wasn't nearly as good as what expectations were.
Sure.
Do you think that Kyler Murray was better his rookie season than Baker Mayfield was?
It's a good question. I would say roughly even, but a little bit in favor of Kyler, I guess is the way that I'd phrase that, because Baker, after the Hugh Jackson thing, was just disgusting.
Yeah, lights out.
Like, he was one of the best quarterbacks in football, but he also faced a ridiculously easy schedule in that stretch. And I think that once you adjust for that, and the fact that Kyler Murray faced a tough schedule, or really the opposite end, a tough schedule last year, I think I would go Kyler. And like from an enthusiasm perspective, as much as I love Baker, I think if I were building an NFL team, I'd want that dynamic ability that Kyler Murray brings. I think that's so valuable that I would go Kyler, I think, in both those questions. Like, who would you rather have, and who was better in their respective rookie seasons?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And again, we keep comparing Baker to the wrong people. Like, if you ask me Baker Mayfield versus most people, I'll pick Baker. It's just, again, Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson. It's really hard to not pick those guys.
Right.
So Baker, if you're watching, I'm sorry. Give me lower tier quarterbacks. I'm picking you every day, buddy. Don't you worry. Handoff to Nixon. Had some space there again. Breaks a couple of tackles. Picks up about 6 yards. 5 rushes, 28 yards for Joe Mixon. They have not decided to air things out yet. Still keeping it on the ground as they are here in the second half, down by 14. Trying to erase that gap. Zach Taylor not as pass heavy in Madden as he is in real life. We'll see if things change here as the second half progresses. 2nd down and 4 for the Bengals. A backward pass to A.J. Green. Thankfully, he catches it, but he's taken down for a loss of 3 yards. So you used A.J. Green, tough cookies, because not only does he not get the half point for a reception, but he loses 0.3 points for the rush attempt as well.
Yeah, and he couldn't just bat it down because it was a backward pass.
Right. Exactly. So the Bengals going the wrong way here. 3rd down and 7. Trying to cut into this 14-0 lead. On the Bengals side of things, haven't seen a whole lot of production really out of anybody so far from a DFS perspective. Joe Mixon, 5 carries for about 30 yards. That'll work. Dalton forever to throw, but gets taken down eventually by Larry Ogunjobi. So the offensive line for once gave Andy Dalton time to throw, but no one got open. So Dalton gets taken down, 4th and 10.
Yeah, not looking good for Andy Dalton right now. He's had a pretty rough. What is this? Their fourth drive, I guess technically, because of the end of the first half, but has not looked very good. He had all the time in the world there. He probably could have run, but
Dalton physically in Cleveland, mentally he's already in Dallas. He's ready to hold that clipboard. Yeah. He is ready to prop up Dak Prescott, give him the help that he needs. He is not going to deal with the nonsense here in Cincinnati right now.
I would love to see Andy Dalton quarterback the Dallas Cowboys, though, because I don't think Andy Dalton's nearly as bad as people think that he is. And we know that the situation in Dallas is...
This is a 56-yard field goal attempt for Randy Bullock. What are you doing?
Guaranteed short.
Oh, he nailed it, didn't he? No, okay, he's short.
Guaranteed short. But yeah, I mean, look, Dak Prescott, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. I'm not trying to take anything away there. I'm just saying it would be very, very interesting and fun to see what we see as a replacement level type quarterback in Andy Dalton playing with those weapons in Dallas. I don't think it would go poorly. Let's just say that.
Yeah, I think that if you give most quarterbacks that surrounding cast, they'll be good. They just won't be as good as Dak Prescott has been with that supporting cast. Like there is marginal value added by having someone as good as Dak Prescott. We'd actually talked briefly about having like a multiverse where Dak Prescott doesn't get his contract worked out and they had Andy Dalton start. I think we eventually looked another way, but that would have been pretty fun, honestly.
Yeah, would have been.
I would have enjoyed that. Wilson, plenty of time, throws it downfield, and that is a completion. Was that Njoku again? It was. David Njoku blow it up. 23-yard reception. He is up to, I think, 6 receptions now in this game. So 6 receptions for, I think it was 65 yards. He's going nuts.
Yeah, this is probably the best call that I've made on any of the streams. Was the Njoku talk at the beginning of this one.
Absolutely. And
we've been wrong. We've been wrong a lot on these streams.
But those get forgotten, JJ. It's only the hits that actually we didn't bring up bad calls. We brought up Blake Bell. We're not bringing up the bad ones.
Nothing will compare to Blake Bell. You got to put Blake Bell on top there, but Njoku again.
What's Njoku doing? He's going nuts.
7 catches, baby.
David Njoku has like a 60% market share of the receiving yards in this game.
Yeah, 60% of the receiving yards and 50% of the receptions.
7 receptions for 70 yards. That is, I think, 16.5 FanDuel points off the top of my head. So he has more than Kareem Hunt now, despite Hunt having the first touchdown of this game. So David Njoku, currently the MVP of this game for your FanDuel rosters. And, he couldn't quite bring that one.
I was so ready. I'm like, it's an outside throw. It's going to OBJ. No, David Njoku.
Man, Russ definitely had Njoku in his MVP slot for this game.
I mean, my goodness, now we understand why Will Dissly went off last year when he was healthy.
I have no idea what those exclamation points are. I don't know if that's like a bug in the stream or something like that, but
they're a little upset right now.
Oh my goodness. Oh no, that's Rashard Higgins. Okay, so I thought it was Njoku again because I saw the arm sleeve, but it's Rashard Higgins. I think that's his second catch already. Yeah, 2 receptions, 27 yards. Rashard Higgins, the wide receiver 1 for Cleveland. I guess the wide receiver 2 behind David Njoku because Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham just don't exist at all.
Yeah, I'm surprised Jarvis Landry hasn't been involved basically at all. Ever since that weird play where he was frozen with the defender. But yeah, we haven't seen much of Jarvis Landry, which we thought that he was a pretty good value given his cost.
Yeah, he was $1,000 more than Njoku on FanDuel. Njoku was $9,500. Landry was $10,500. And I think the thing we've seen a lot here in these Andy Dalton.
Not happy with his defense.
Not happy with the bench.
Andy, I hate to break it to you, Andy, but it's not just the defense that's screwing up this game.
That 0 is partly on you, bud.
Yeah.
First and goal for the Browns. Handoff to Nick Chubb up the gut. Chubb not doing a whole lot. I don't think he has a catch yet. Just 1.4 FanDuel points. So Chubb, tough investment. Odell Beckham, a tough investment. Wilson doing fine because he does have the touchdown to Njoku and almost 150 yards passing. And now he's in touchdown range from a rushing perspective as well. So maybe he can make it up after that slide short of the goal line before. Instead, he hands off Nick Chubb, and Chubb goes nowhere. So 3rd and goal from the 6-yard line for Cleveland. Although we shouldn't criticize a Russell Wilson-led team for running when they're close to the goal line. We know what happens when they decide to throw, so maybe we'll keep the judgment in check there.
Jim, why are you opening these wounds for all the Seahawks fans that are watching?
Seahawks Twitter is like the best version of Twitter, so I feel bad. And there's Odell Beckham. Finally, Odell Beckham getting in on the party. A little suit and tie celebration with Jarvis Landry, and that puts the Browns up 20-0. Bengals got some work to do, but the second touchdown for Russell Wilson and that $15,000 salary looking pretty justified right now.
OBJ turned around and the ball was in his armpit.
Yeah.
He caught that with his armpit.
But that, like, honestly, like, I feel like Odell Beckham has like a bucket list of ways to catch footballs that he wants to do in an actual game. That's probably on there somewhere.
Yeah,
so
that's probably
I wouldn't doubt it. But I should mention that I feel bad for Seahawks Twitter because they are, like, you can tell a fan base based on the way they interact with you on Twitter. Seahawks Twitter is never one that has given me like a heart. Like, I've never been like offended by Seahawks Twitter.
No, I have my personal rankings of Twitters, of team Twitters. You know, some Twitters don't, like Chargers Twitter doesn't exist. There's no such thing as Chargers Twitter. But Seahawks Twitter to me, and I'm an honorary member of Seahawks Twitter for the record. I want everyone to know that I was let in to Seahawks Twitter.
Oh.
Yeah, Cable Thanos let me in, and he's one of the leaders of Seahawks Twitter. Yeah. So I'm a part of Seahawks Twitter as an honorary member. Because it came down to, though, I showed a tweet back in 2012 or something like that said that it's how crazy it was that people didn't like Russell Wilson more than Andrew Luck. And that alone gets you into Seahawks Twitter.
Yeah,
right?
Automatic admission. That's like the golden ticket, baby.
Right.
Like, you're set for life.
Exactly. But Seahawks Twitter is the best to me. The worst objectively, I have to go with Patriots Twitter. Look, guys, we get it. You win all the time. We understand. We get it. But there's what comes with that naturally. It's not even their fault. But what comes with that is just an extreme arrogance, right? And that's just what happens.
Chad is going to be upset.
But the crazy thing is, number 2 on my list of bad is Bills Twitter.
Oh, yeah. Well.
And look, I know that
the last 2 places I have lived are Somerville, Massachusetts, and Syracuse, New York. Yeah. Those are right in the prime markets of those 2 fan bases. I will leave it at that from my perspective.
Now look, I know I'm offending a lot of people right now, and I apologize. I'm just trying to be as objective as I possibly can as an analyst. Look, I'm from Pittsburgh. Born and raised Pittsburgh, big Steeler fan. I'm not really that much of a fan anymore because of my job and all that. But love the Steelers. Steelers Twitter sucks too. Steelers Twitter is really bad. Steeler fans are obnoxious. They don't understand how good they have it, how good they've had it. They trash Mike Tomlin all the time. Mike Tomlin's a great coach. Just stop.
There is a segment of Vikings Twitter that still like capes up for Teddy Bridgewater. Therefore, I will never say anything bad about Vikings Twitter because like I'm from Minnesota and I will always cape up for the people who cape up for Teddy. Going back to the Patriots, though, I've only had one person ever tweet me their address hoping that I will come and fight them. That person was a Patriots fan. Yeah. So I'm just going to leave it at that. That was the only time that's ever happened.
That's amazing.
It was before the Super Bowl against Atlanta. I had to write a piece for numberFire about 5 reasons why Atlanta will win. And they tweeted me their address in hopes that I would come and fight them. And I respected it, honestly. Like, that's a bold move. I like it. So I have respect for you, Patriots Twitter, but you scare the daylights out of me.
And then, Jim, I'm assuming you put it into Google Maps and did a street view just to see what it was like around there, and then you were contemplating going up there to fight this person.
No, I tried to move to Canada immediately. I was packing my bags, making plans. We were ready to bounce, for sure, because it was, I was like, oh, geez, this is a little frightening. And I lived in Boston, or near Boston at the time, so we were too close to the situation.
Yeah,
he lived in Arizona, which I know because he sent me his address, so we were very clear of that situation. AJ Green getting the reception, his second reception of the game, and again, not a lot cooking here for the people who use Bengals in this game. I honestly could not tell you if anyone has had a difference-making performance. You do need at least one Bengal on your team for these single-game rosters on FanDuel. I don't even know the optimal way you would want to go. So far here, Randy Bullock, if you get points for missed field goal attempts where the coach decided to have drunken confidence in their kicker, maybe that's worth something to you. I'm not sure. But not a whole lot going on there so far.
Punting the Bengals spot would have been the best move so far.
Leaving it blank.
Yeah. Just getting literally like Erickson or something like that. Just going with some random Bengal that isn't going to get any love in this stream.
Alex Erickson was $7,500. Tyler Boyd, his third reception of the game. We did like Tyler Boyd going in, so maybe he'll wind up being the highest scoring Bengal. $10,000 for Tyler Boyd. 4 minutes left in this game, and the Bengals, they've got some work to do. Handoff goes to Joe Mixon, breaks one tackle, breaks another, gets inside the 10. Interesting dilemma with Joe Mixon for this year, because we've seen Joe Mixon get elite workloads in the past. The offense could be better this year with the weapons around them. Those are good things, but there are still questions around Joe Mixon. And Joe Mixon, the fantasy cost tied to Joe Mixon is not one that indicates there are still lingering questions there. So Tyler Eifert almost got in. But what's your evaluation of Joe Mixon for this year?
Look, what we've seen from Mixon in the last couple of seasons, he's been an RB1 without a lot of receiving volume, right? And your hope would be that with a new quarterback, and if they give him that new contract, that they're going to want to use him more in the passing game. So to me, where he's being drafted makes sense because his ceiling is a top 3 running back in fantasy football, which this is it almost felt like the play just stopped. What is going on? Andy, what are you doing, buddy?
That was the Tom Savage play. Remember where Tom Savage dropped back where he was on a leisurely stroll?
Yeah.
I think it was a Roto Pat tweet. And it was the most amazing clip I've ever seen in my entire life. That's what Andy Dalton looked like there.
Yeah, that was bizarre. But with Joe Mixon, if he does end up seeing that receiving share, where instead of in the 7 to 8% target share range, he's more in the 13% target share range, which is possible.
Sure.
All of a sudden he's easy top three or 4 running back in fantasy. So I think where he's being drafted makes sense. I would still be drafting like a Michael Thomas, probably Devontae Adams ahead of him, especially in a PPR format where you're starting more wide receivers. But I think that he's properly priced.
Another rush attempt for AJ Green.
2 rushes for -1 yards.
I don't know what it is with these laterals.
You gotta get that one out of the playbook, Cincinnati. That's just not
yeah. They're down 21-0 with 2.5 minutes left. It's time to establish the run with AJ Green. That's all. That's what I'm thinking here for sure. 3rd and goal from the 4. Andy Dalton throws it into the end zone, and that's Tyler Boyd. He is paying off. And that answers our question about which Bengal you wanted. Tyler Boyd, his 4th reception of the game, and the first touchdown for the Bengals. $10,000. It's $10,000 well spent for those of you who decided to use Tyler Boyd in your rosters.
From the University of Pittsburgh.
Exactly. We've had James Conner had a 2-touchdown game. Maybe just use the Pitt players.
Yeah, man.
I think that's always the cheat code here.
There's nothing better. The Pitt players are what the University of Pittsburgh's football program is be really mediocre as a program, but have a lot of good pros. That's essentially what they've done there.
I mean, it sounds great. So I think I'm not giving you this advice. Please do not take this as advice. I beg you. I'm just saying LaShawn McCoy's playing tomorrow.
That's right.
So
this is true. This is true, and it would be back if we did this 5 or 6 years ago. John Baldwin for Kansas City.
I forgot about John Baldwin.
Yeah, I think everyone listening to this forgot who John Baldwin was.
You have those Twitter threads where people will name a random football player. John Baldwin could be there, and I wouldn't bat an eyelash.
Yeah, John Baldwin. He was good at Pitt. He was just way overdrafted in the NFL draft.
All right, so 21-7. Looks like the Bengals are going to try the onside kick here and see what happens. 2:25 left, and it is picked up. There's Jarvis Landry. No, you don't get points for that. But that will give the ball back to the Browns. Cincinnati is still with all 3 timeouts, so could get the ball back here, maybe get some additional points. I think the game itself is out of reach, but could get some additional points for those of you who decided to use Bengals on your roster. Obviously, all you did, but for anyone who maybe didn't have Tyler Boyd. Big players so far in this game. Russell Wilson, one of them, 155 yards and 2 touchdowns. David Njoku going off. Kareem Hunt with the touchdown earlier. Those are the main players so far within this game. Although Beckham did have a touchdown, but outside of that, not a whole lot going on for him. Once again, we are back here again tomorrow to see the Raiders against the Chiefs with Kyler Murray as the quarterback of the Raiders. We're going to make the Raiders exciting as we take Derek Carr. Again, nothing against Derek Carr. He's fine. But we're going to put Kyler Murray in there. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that one. We finally found – okay, so we were talking about Baker and replacing him with random players. I would not do it for Derek Carr. There we go.
No.
We found one. We're good.
No, I'm going to save my Derek Carr takes for tomorrow. Because I have Derek Carr stories. I have there's a lot going on, a lot of backstory with me and Derek Carr. Not directly, mostly with
Raiders Twitter.
Yeah, So we'll save it for that. But that's a teaser. That's what we call a teaser in the business.
Exactly. 21-7, 2nd and 7 here as we get to the 2-minute warning. So we'd assume that the Bengals will start to use their timeouts. But if you want to get DFS contests entered for tomorrow, just go to FanDuel.com, check out the DFS lobby, enter those under the eNFL tab, and get those lineups in for tomorrow night. Lock is 8 p.m. Eastern, and then that's when the stream will be here on the FanDuel YouTube page once again. So make sure you are subscribed so you get notified as that video goes live. 3rd down here for this Browns offense, and Cincinnati about to get the ball back here for one last drive.
Man, I don't know how you go through these streams and not have tea, Jim.
I have water.
Yeah, I'm tea all day, constantly. I got some Jade Citrus mint tea bags.
I've got
some Tivana. They're not sponsoring the stream, but it's
my
very
Hard Rock Hotel San Diego coffee cup. Another catch for Njoku.
David Njoku, baby.
My goodness. All right, so this is definitely up there from calls for these streams. David Njoku out of JJ paying off.
It's easily the best call I'll make with all these simulations. Like I said, we've been wrong a lot with some of these picks.
But as an explanation for why no coffee, because I can't sleep if I have coffee too late, but also if you have cream, it messes up your voice. Like any dairy is bad for your voice. And I am a wimp who can't have coffee without creamer. Outside of occasional cups, I will go black occasionally, but I'm admittedly not a hardcore coffee drinker, so I like to go cream, and cream is not great for your voice. So
I got you. That's why
I gotta keep them pipes clean because everyone totally cares about the quality. That's why you're here for the quality.
You're listening to Jim and me first and foremost.
It has nothing to do with your DFS contests.
Yes.
You would be here independent of that. I'm totally sure.
Exactly.
2nd and 5. They're still passing, but why not when you got Rashard Higgins? Just keep on airing it out. Rashard Higgins, David Njoku. Just trade OBJ and Jarvis right now. Build the team around those two. Ricky Seals-Jones, Demetrius Harris. Who needs these guys?
Maybe the Seahawks haven't given Russell Wilson great weapons and invested a whole lot outside of DK Metcalf, of course, because they know that he's not going to utilize them anyway.
Right, that's true. That's very true. 1st and goal. This could actually bail out some Nick Chubb people because he hasn't done anything. But if he gets a touchdown here, that would definitely make things a lot brighter. And he does. Nick Chubb getting it done for everyone. He's probably not going to be like a great DFS asset given how much you paid for him, given how little he has done from a yardage perspective. But hey, anytime you can dive into the end zone, you got to do it. Make it look flashy in the process as Nick Chubb gets 6th there for the people who used him.
But what that does, and this is what we always think about whenever we're, making lineups and watching games, then what that does is you don't want those points to go to someone who already has some sort of baseline, like OBJ, for instance, because that could really swing contests. Whereas if it's spread out a little bit more and you've been using David Njoku and you use him in the MVP spot, then all of a sudden, this is a good thing that it was Nick Chubb that found the end zone.
Yeah, so everyone who had Njoku in the MVP slot, you're still safe. And like JJ said, probably a good thing that it was not. I mean, even if it had been Russ, that could have been a negative as well. I'm assuming a lot of people who had Njoku had him stacked with Russ, but regardless, it's a good way to think about it as well. 28-7, we'll get some more Dandy Andy time before we close up shop here because why not? Let's roll with more Andy Dalton while we still have the chance.
What's the over-under? What are the odds here that Andy Dalton throws a pick on this last drive? Shouldn't say over. I would say if I gave you plus 400 that he would throw a pick.
Yeah. I'll take that.
You take that? What about 200?
No.
Yeah, I think it's probably around like 300 to 400.
270. That's what.
Ooh, okay.
We're gonna go exact.
Okay.
I have no idea why. I'm just gonna go with that. But yeah, 4-1. I'll take that. So yeah, I think plus 400 is very fair. So we'll see. All right, Andy, come through.
He's already had one pick. There aren't a ton of picks in arcade mode. I think 400 is probably the right line for that.
This is a situation that Baker Mayfield was in a lot last year, where he was forced to try to play from behind, and the big interception number was partly because Baker had a bad year, but it was also because they found themselves in these bad scenarios. Like that week 1 against Tennessee, Baker had like 3 or 4 picks. It was because they were down like 41-16, partly because of Baker to begin with, but he was in bad situations and he was taking chances. That's exactly what you want to do. You don't want to dump it off to Joe Mixon when you're down by 21 with 45 seconds left. I guess it doesn't really matter. But it's not helping, Andy. Let's go. Throw it to the other team here.
Yeah, the one thing I will say with negative game scripts, as you noted, Jim, it takes a garbage performance to get to that garbage time in the first place. And so we can't say it's not on Baker, but it also, to your point, I agree with you that a lot of the script it's not always just the quarterback. There's a lot of not advantageous situations for Cleveland last year because the defense wasn't as strong at times. We know the offensive line struggled a lot, especially the first half of the season. My goodness. I mean, part of that was schedule related, but
they also they basically schemed it where Baker's time to throw got cut in half from the first 6 or so weeks to the end of the season. Andy doesn't throw a pick. Come on, man.
Yeah, there we go.
He threw to open players, which is not recommended. Stop throwing to open players, and we will be good. But that does wrap it up. Russell Wilson leading the Browns to a 28-7 victory, and JJ, Russ looked good. Shocker. Any final takeaways for you from this game?
No, I mean, we learned that Russell Wilson does not care about who his weapons are. He's good regardless.
You could put Russell Wilson on the Alabama Crimson Tide, put them in the NFL, they would still lose, but Russ would make things look pretty good there. Russell Wilson, 182 yards, 2 touchdowns for today, with the big performance by David Njoku, 8 receptions, 86 yards, and a touchdown. He is your MVP for this game, and other touchdown there by Kareem Hunt. Tyler Boyd getting in for the Bengals as well. That is all the time that we have for today. Back again tomorrow. We're putting Kyler Murray on at that time, Oakland Raiders, having him face off with Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Get those DFS lineups in, but we are done for today. Browns win 28-7. For Calvin Theobald and JJ Zachariason, I am Jim Sanas saying so long. We'll see you here once again tomorrow on the FanDuel Football Multiverse.